Hi, I'm Tracey Soltis.
And I'm Kali Alfaro. And you're listening to the Mind Body Studio, a place for anyone who wants to reach their full potential, thrive, and create a life filled with vitality.
Each week, we'll bring you our expertise, giggles, and a splash of quirky to explore real and relevant topics to help you along your life's journey.
We'll bring you science, psychology, and practicality to real life issues.
So, thanks for listening. We know you're going to love it. Alrighty, welcome back everyone. It's been a little bit of a break since our last episode, and today we're just going to kind of wing it. We're going to talk about energy and I guess our connection to our energy.
Welcome everyone.
So what are your thoughts on all of this? I mean, we've got our cognitive self, our subconscious self, we've got our physical self, and we have our energetic self. And it's not something that we typically usually look into when it comes to our energies and how they work and what's actually going on within the energy fields of our bodies. So what's your experience with all of the energy?
Well, I find it fascinating that we kind of scientifically know that everything is energy, right?
Yeah.
And yet we don't talk about it, and we focus on the dense stuff and the cognitive stuff and the physical stuff. And yet energy occupies, 99.9% of everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we focus on everything else except energy.
Mm-hmm. And okay, so I'm going to be nerdy for a second. So you know that what they're doing now is that they're smashing energy particles together to create mass, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we're getting like light energy photons, which is, obviously two little light photons, smashing them together, and they're actually creating matter from that. I mean, don't you think that's insane?
It's like Einstein stuff, in the making.
Oh my gosh.
I would love to have Einstein here sitting with us having this conversation, because it's almost like there's all of this ideology and belief systems and formulas that were created, and now it's like they're practicing them.
Yeah.
It's in the making.
Yeah. Well, we're actually doing that right now. I mean, they've, creating this situation where they're smashing a lot of atoms together and creating potentially black holes and all sorts going on, while I guess there's a lot of other stuff going on in the world. We've got all of this energy stuff going on the side. And look, let's just be honest. I've had a really interesting week. Yeah, let's just get to it. I've had a really interesting week. I went on a Tantra retreat. And so before anyone goes, oh, wow, so you got your sexy time on, it was a lot more than that. It was more about looking at the energy within the body and the different chakras of the body. So the root chakra, the sacral chakra, the solar plexus, the heart, the throat, the third eye, and the crown, and really exploring what those energy fields look like within ourselves and how they extend out into the environment around us and onto other people. Now, have you had experience with your chakras or, understanding energy and how that all works before?
Oh, absolutely. And look, a lot of the work that you know very well that I've done with the shamans and with other medicine people around the world in sacred sites, you get trained on how to tap into that energy. And I think everyone has done work on an energetic level, because we can't not do it because we're energetic beings. Yeah. So for some people that might be listening that might think this is a little bit too woo-woo and black holes and chakras and whatnot, I want you to think about when you walk into a space, when you walk into a house, a room, a park, a church, you can feel something, right? You can feel the energy of the space. It either feels good or it feels unnerving, or, there's a sensation.
It's like when you meet someone and you get a vibe. The vibe.
Right.
So we always talk, we use that language of, you know what, he seemed like a really nice person, but I kind of just had a bit of a strange vibe.
Yeah.
And that's your energy field and his energy field connecting and talking to each other. And that's why you're getting this sense of a physical or a cognitive response of going, something's not quite right there. I'm sure he's lovely, but there's something that's not quite gelling with my energy field. And so
we need to start tuning into that, because the more we can tune into our own energy, the better we can show it to the world.
Yeah.
And the more you can start to trust your gut instincts. And, you know, not going into like a dark space, because I want to make this episode light, but most people that have had a really traumatic incident where they've been perpetrated by someone else had a gut feeling. There's people who have been interviewed. They had a gut feeling that something was going to go wrong. They had a gut feeling that they shouldn't have gone out that night, or they shouldn't, you know, have done a particular thing. And so it's sort of like we have all of these little feelers out in the world that we can't see, that are picking up vibration, frequency, and information. And then the body kind of responds to that. And so the cleaner we are, this is also why we bang on so much about clean eating, clean thinking, good energy, good food, good sleep, sun, all of the stuff. The cleaner we are, the more alert we are and aware to be able to tap into that energy, right? So then you can kind of, even in some of the work that I do, I kind of ask people, where in your body do you hold that anger or that sadness, right?
And everyone can find that spot. So when they close their eyes and they're feeling into their body, I'm the same with my clients. I'm like, okay, well, you're experiencing that emotion right now, but where is that sensation in your body? And they can always pinpoint a sensation where there's stagnation within the body.
And kids are great at this because they haven't developed this inner critic that tells them that it's stupid or like irrational or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think it's so incredibly important to have a clean environment in your mind, in your body, in your spirit, in your home, so that you can be sort of like awake to the energies and you can be more receptive and perceptive, because we can navigate and flow. And the more in flow we are with our energy, we begin to go into this beautiful harmony with the universe.
Yeah.
And we know that when we're in harmony and when we're in flow, the universe loves it. It's almost like it has like this, you know, Skyworks shows, like amazing. And so all these things begin to kind of fall in place. So for our listeners out there today, I really want to motivate you and encourage you to think, what makes you feel like you're in flow? What are those energies that you can tap into in your mind or in your body that are allowing you to feel either connected or energized, or that something just has a good vibe, or a person, right, or a situation? Because those are the things that we want to start to consciously create more of in our lives.
Yeah. And I think if you're living with someone, so whether you have a partner or you're in a relationship or you've got children, I mean, if you are dropping into that space, your intuition really opens up and you're able to understand what's going on around you with the people that you're living with, because you're actually picking up on their experiences and how they are energetically going, which also leads into how they're mentally coping with different things as well. So it's funny you say that, because when we came home from our retreat, and obviously we're very in tune, so my hubby and I went to the retreat together, and like we had an amazing experience. It was so awesome. And we were talking about a particular topic, and he was kind of getting worn out. We're talking about this particular topic, and his intuition was to say, you know what, honey, maybe we should just give this little chit chat a rest. But he didn't listen to his intuition. Okay, you know where I'm going with this, right? You know where I'm going, because sometimes you can out-talk stuff, and that leads to...
I had this conversation this week about how we just overanalyze too many things. We need to feel into them.
Yes,
right?
yeah. So I'm talking to my husband about this particular topic, and I'm like, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like coming at it at this particular angle, and he's thinking to himself, you know what, I really, I'm done with this topic. I really, I need to just not talk about it anymore. But he didn't tell me that. He didn't use his intuition and going, you know what, if we talk anymore, I think we're going to have an argument. He was like, no, it's going to be okay. It'll be fine. Sure enough, what happens? I'm like, blah, 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 blah. And he got triggered. And next minute, we're having an argument out of something that wasn't even had no negative thing around it whatsoever. But we're having an argument because he didn't listen to his intuition.
But I'm going to challenge you on this because I love you and I know you can take it. But did you listen to the energy that he was putting out? Did you feel into that?
Well, I thought that he was open. I probably should have read his facial expressions more.
How important is it for us, especially women?
Yeah.
I'm not stereotyping, but it's just the way that we're wired. How important is it for us to actually stop?
Yes.
And take
Sometimes
a deep
it's
breath?
hard to stop.
I know.
Yeah.
I know, but how important is it to stop, take a deep breath and actually feel the energy?
Yeah.
Right? Because this is about conscious creation.
Yeah.
It's about going, I have this need, and you had this need to have this conversation with good old Drew.
Yeah.
And Drew's like tuning out and like going, I'm done, but he's not voicing it.
Yeah.
So you both had a need that wasn't compatible at that time, but the energy was probably telling you that anyway.
Because we can, as women, we can over talk about stuff. Don't you think? Like sometimes
there's a small percentage of men that can do that too. But yes, we can overanalyze, overthink, overtalk.
Yeah.
And we kill it sometimes. Like there is a space for speaking and analyzing and understanding concepts. But I think if we feel into the energy of what we're feeling, sometimes that has a much greater and more impactful result or consequence.
Yeah. And I think sometimes when you are, I guess too though, when you are in that energetic space and you are holding that energetic space for quite a significant amount of time, you can get quite depleted without realizing it because you're in that heightened energetic space, right? And so before you know it, your fatigue kind of starts coming in. And then you start saying things that you don't particularly mean, but then they start coming up because you're kind of scrambling because then you're like, but no, but this is how I feel and this is all positive and stuff. But before you know it, you've gone into a place of not really connecting with your cognitive and things aren't making the sense that you want them to make. And that's where I guess the disruption in your communication kind of happens between yourself and your loved one because you're just then fumbling along with words and you're not really feeling it from a heart space.
And I find that really fascinating because a lot of the education that I've had that is like non-traditional university education and a lot of the texts that I've read talk about how sometimes we try and describe something with words and words are actually really limiting, right? So, and when we do that, we compartmentalize an experience or an energy into a word or a concept, and we get really caught up in the sort of in the lexicon of it, right? So in the way that people say it, in the meaning that you might give that word. And there are so many complexities that come with language. And so much of like the shamanic work, the energetic realm, the energy healing, the energies of the planet is simply like this unspoken language where you just drop into this ability to sense.
Yeah,
right?
to feel.
Yeah.
To feel.
So I think there is such a huge level of value in maybe not having to understand or speak about a particular thing and just feel it and observe what it does organically.
Yeah.
Because the more we can allow something to unfold organically, the more in harmony it is with the universe, and sometimes things resolved without having to do anything about it because it just takes its natural course. And I think as humans, we just want to come in and try and control it and understand it and, you know, like shred it down to, you know, the nitty gritty and yada, yada, right?
Like here's a problem, this is the solution sort of thing. Yeah, rather than going, okay, let's tune inwards. What am I feeling? And like, where is that coming from? What part of the body? And what do I need? So those two things are so much more important than going, because not everything is going to work for everybody, right? you actually need to tap in as an individual and go, okay, well, where is this happening in my body? What am I feeling? What are the sensations that I'm feeling? Why is this uncomfortable for me? What do I need? Not here's a list of possible things that might work for you, go try those, but really digging deep into your own self and working out what it is that you need and what the outcome of that would be for you if you got your needs met. What are your thoughts on that? Oh my gosh, she's thinking here is really in deep thought now.
How do you think your conversation with Drew would have gone if you did that instead of having to talk at him?
Oh, yeah, probably would have gone a lot better, honestly.
Do you think, no, like being serious, right?
Yeah.
Sort of half serious. Do you think though that if you had gone inwards after like that massively intense week that you guys had and you had actually gone inwards and tried to feel the energy of whatever it is that you guys were discussing and find a way of self-soothing and understanding this for yourself and maybe even like sleeping on it, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that that would have had a different outcome?
Yeah, because
if you'd done that?
Absolutely. Because I think that I just got overexcited about the particular topic and went too far ahead without just stopping for a second and having a breath. And if I really tapped in properly and if I owned my truth, I deep down knew that I should probably just stop talking. Just stop talking. Like, why? Why do you do this? This is part of my personality.
This is really interesting. So why do we have this particular need to try and control things and make things happen and right here, right now, and like, I don't know, like get to that really deep level of understanding? Why do we struggle so much with just sitting with it?
Yeah.
And giving something room to breathe and space?
Why is that?
Why do we struggle?
Yes, this is what I struggle with. This is a big one because like, okay, so even after we had our argument and he's like, okay, look, I've had enough. So he's taken himself to the other room and I'm like, okay, no problem. So I sat there for a while and I'm thinking, oh, you know what? Like I probably took it too far and I feel really like bad about that because now I can see his point of view. So I think I'm going to get up and I'm going to go and apologize. Now you know where I'm going with this, right? Oh my
God, you took the argument into the bedroom.
So then I'm like, oh my God, honey, I'm so sorry. Like I totally see what's happened and I take accountability for that. But then he says something and it triggers me. So he's kind of accepted my apology, but then I've been triggered and then we argue again. And I'm like, oh my God, because he's like, you didn't give me space. Why did you not just give me the space? And I'm like, because I want to fix it. That's the thing. Like my mind is like, I don't want there to be any, disharmony in the house. I think that's the feminine there, right?
I love that you've shared that because there's an element of vulnerability and courage in sharing that. And, that's really beautiful. And we were talking about vulnerability and courage just earlier on. So I really want to honour that because I think when we show up to a space with vulnerability and courage, we're more likely to be in our truth, right? And what I love about this is that as humans, I think we really genuinely struggle with the ability to just let something be. And like right now, the world is undergoing like massive transformation and chaos of all sorts, environmental, political, medical, social, anyway. So I think people are genuinely wanting to have this need to control stuff rather than what if we just stop and feel what's actually unfolding? What if we just stop and notice how we are responding to the world and just observe? Like there's no need to do anything about it. There's no need to fix it, to control it, to change it.
Yeah.
Sometimes there are these little gold nuggets in these moments where we just allow ourselves to be. And, we talk so much about being mindful and conscious. Mm-hmm. And I want to bring this back into we have energy and part of that energy we expend, right, in conversation, in doing and all sorts of things. How can we conserve some of that energy to just be present? Because when we are being present, we we allow the moment in front of us with whatever we're carrying or feeling to just be, and we're in it, right? We're not fast forwarding to the future. We're not being stuck on the past. We're allowing ourselves to just be. And in hours and hours and hours and days and days and days and weeks of meditation that I've been in isolation and whatnot, there are these moments of like absolute bliss and epiphanies and things that would never come to you if you force it to happen, or if you overanalyze it or overtalk it, or sometimes even share it. And so there is so much value in your ability to just be in the moment and surrender to what you're feeling and connect, right? So I guess that's such a beautiful part of being conscious and creating those moments.
Yeah, and I think that you raise a really good point in the connecting part of that, because when we think of connecting, we hope that that will be a positive connection, but it's not always a positive connection. And so I think for some people, and even myself at times, like taking that pause and having to sit in the uncomfortable can be quite upsetting for people, because it is difficult. No one wants to sit in the uncomfortable. You know, we'd love to be in the beautiful pleasure moments all of the time.
Which is not real, by the way,
but that's
right?
not reality.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's just not reality. It's equilibrium. So,
and the trouble is that when we don't allow ourselves to sit in that discomfort, we're repressing, we're avoiding, we are ignoring.
Yeah.
And this is energy, right? So we come back to that same topic. This is energy.
Yeah.
If that energy constantly gets repressed, you distract, you put it aside, it will come back. It will raise its ugly little head in the least expected way, and it's going to hit you really, really strongly.
Yeah. And
which is why it's so important to learn how to be with yourself.
Yes, you definitely have to learn how to be with yourself in the silence. And that is particularly difficult for a lot of people to do. Because
there's something go on.
No, it's just staying in the uncomfortable is really, really difficult for some people, because once they don't have something to do. I would say for most
people.
Well, like it's that doing thing all the time that's completely ingrained in us, right? You have to be doing stuff. So when you stop doing stuff, the mind kicks in for everybody. Everyone's like thought, instead of just being, because it is really difficult to stop doing. When you physically stop doing, then your brain starts doing, and you have to try and shut down the mind, shut down the body, and just be with the energetic space and let what comes come. That's a really difficult place for a lot of people to sit in.
For most people, I would say, and this is where breath work comes in really beautifully, because it can really help you to shift your attention to something else. Yeah. But the other thing that I'm like hugely passionate about, and those people that know me quite well know that I'm an absolute earth lover and nature lover. And a lot of the times I feel that we over-rely on other humans to solve a problem or to come to a solution, where sometimes you can go down to the beach, you can watch a sunset, you can sit under a tree, and you can allow the energy of that natural space to hold you. Yeah. You can allow yourself to surrender that discomfort into the roots of the tree and send it into Pachamama's dirt. You can feel yourself, and this is one of the reasons why I swim every morning or most mornings in the ocean, because I feel cleansed, right? I surrender, and it's like I cleanse for the day. And when you are sitting there lying on the grass looking at the sky, and you can allow yourself to, send your tears to the stars and you let it go, there is this incredible element of magic and beauty that unfolds in that space. And that is pure energy. You're not talking to anyone. You're not trying to understand it. You are just purely being in that energetic realm. Yeah. And there is so much power in that.
So much,
and the more we connect to that, the more connected we're going to feel to ourselves, we're more connected we're going to feel to nature, and the less needy we are going to be to project our needs to be met by other people. So the more self-reliant we are, the more we can show up to a space clearer, calmer, more confident, more loving, more giving, because you feel held by nature and nature is everywhere.
Exactly. Yes, I love that so much. And one of the things that I did pretty much religiously through the whole retreat was my hot and cold therapy, because that really works with me. So having a sauna and then doing a ice plunge. Oh my gosh, I love that so much. I
don't understand why you don't come swimming with me if you are plunging into a bloody ice bath.
Because is there a sauna at the beach? Because if there is a sauna at the beach, I would totally do the sauna and then I would run into the ocean, because I love that.
We're talking about sitting with discomfort.
I know, but this is sitting with discomfort, right? The hot and the cold of sitting with discomfort. And that beautiful feeling that you have afterwards when all the endorphins are released after a cold plunge, there's nothing like it in the world. It's just phenomenal. Like, you wait a couple of minutes after you've hopped out of that cold water, and next minute you've got this rush like of beautiful like happiness, and I'm looking around and I'm like, wow, like look at the sky, everything's so beautiful, and you know, all of the trees and stuff. And there's an overwhelming amount of love and compassion and kindness that comes from surrendering to the discomfort.
And what is that? What is that love and compassion and kindness? It's just energy, right?
Yeah.
It's always there, and you have just allowed yourself to tap into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I want people to think about that. All of the energies are always there. You just need to allow yourself to tap into them.
Yeah.
You need to allow those moments of stillness that
and
open,
being with the uncomfortable.
that open the gateway.
Exactly, to all that love, kindness and compassion that's waiting on the other side. And I love that so much.
That is so beautiful.
Yay.
I really love that.
Yeah. And I feel like energetically, we've only just done a little teeny tiny scratch of the surface, because let's face it, this topic is phenomenally huge. And we've only talked really basic stuff today. And I think at some point I'll definitely be having more discussions around all of the things that I took away from this retreat that I've just been on for 8 days. I mean, it was pretty intense. And once I've kind of processed each day of that, because it was such phenomenal energetic work, I think there's potential for us to have a chat even more about what that looks like, because it's really had a significant impact on the way that I'm kind of vibrating at the moment.
And I noticed, and I said to you, your energy is different, right?
Yeah.
So you can feel it. So
Yes.
I want our listeners to think about, how can you tune in to your bodies? How can you tune in to the energy field that you have around you? Like, step into a space, and instead of rushing through it, just take a moment and feel the energy. What vibe is that space giving? Notice how you can allow yourself to sometimes surrender the issues or the situations or the discomfort that you're experiencing to nature. Sit in, those beautiful Moreton Bay fig trees and be held by the roots, and notice what it's like to kind of breathe your fears away into it. What does it feel like to go to the ocean or watch the sky and surrender some of those difficulties?
Yeah.
And observe yourself. What begins to happen when you do this? How do you begin to show up differently?
Yeah.
And all you want to do is you just want to find different ways of connecting with yourself, so that you can be more aware of your own energy, and then slowly start to kind of tap into the energy of the spaces that we are floating in and out of all day long, right?
Yeah, and I love that you use floating, because we are actually floating, right? Because if you listen to us before, you know that we're not solid. We're like little particles all joined together, waving ourselves through the room and the chair that we're sitting on. So I love that. Anyway.
On that note, we're going to send you guys really beautiful energy through the speakers, through our hearts.
Yes.
We thank you, as always, for listening. We thank you for the questions that you send us. And we really hope that this has triggered some curiosity about how you can really improve your energy. And we're just sending you lots of amazing, beautiful vibes.
Little sparkles.
Yeah.
Sparkle, sparkle, sparkle.
Through the ether. So we'll
Awesome.
we'll tune in next time. Thanks so much.
Alrighty. Catch you later.
The information, views and opinions expressed on this podcast should not be used or treated as a substitute for nutritional, medical, psychological or other advice by a qualified health professional. Hosts and guests on the podcast express their own opinions, experiences and conclusions. Nothing in the podcast should be used to diagnose, treat, cure or prevent any medical condition. The podcast is not intended to replace any medical or mental health treatment. All information and advice provided is for general well-being and does not take individual cases into consideration. Neither Tracey Saltis, Kali Alfaro or any sponsor endorse the opinions, views or conclusions expressed or shared on the podcast. Tracey Saltis and Kali Alfaro take no responsibility for any symptoms or consequences as a direct or indirect result of the podcast.